And I want to take this chance to ask Amanda to come and tell us the story. What is environmental flow and what is it? Thank you very much.
Park and into the large wetland that filters the Mara River naturally as it enters Lake Victoria and begins its second journey at the headwaters of the Nile River. But it also hosts nearly 1 million people, many of whom are rural poor, lacking access to water and sanitation facilities, and who rely directly on the water and the ecosystem services provided by a healthy Mara River. So the fundamental challenge that we face in the Mara is to improve the livelihoods of these people, their sustainable development of the natural resources of the basin, but without compromising the integrity of the ecosystem upon which they depend. Some of the trade-offs that come with development include massive land use change, which has been happening in the upper catchment, including deforestation of the mound, increasing irrigation for agriculture, increasing amounts of legal and illegal abstractions in the basin, and increasing levels of pollution. All of these things threaten the quantity and quality of water depended on by both the people in the basin as well as the iconic wildlife that makes this basin so famous. So with that background, to guide the efforts in the Mara River Basin to deal with this fundamental challenge, these two assessments were carried out: a biodiversity strategy and action plan and an environmental flow assessment. Both of these are very unique processes for several reasons. First of all, they're highly participatory. So consultations, workshops, field assessments all involve a very wide range of stakeholders, from farmers on the ground up to regional government officials. Second, both of these processes are called for in international, regional, and national laws and agreements, which places these reports and their findings and recommendations inside a much broader legal and policy framework, which aids in their implementation. And third, and perhaps most importantly, these reports and their findings and recommendations have now been adopted by the Lake Victoria Basin Commission of the East African Community to be implemented in partnership. So I wanted to talk a bit about the primary recommendations of both reports so you can have some familiarity with them, and then read more about the details later. So the Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan identified 3 habitats to focus on in the Mara River Basin that were deemed critical for biodiversity conservation. The multidisciplinary team of specialists and stakeholders developed key objectives and action steps to be undertaken in each habitat that would target legislative, economic, technical, awareness raising, and applied research recommendations. The first habitat was the forested habitat, and the primary objective is to protect the resources of the Mound Forest and the Mara Riverine forests. The second habitat is the Serengeti and Masai Mara ecosystem. And the primary objective is to integrate biodiversity conservation into a system of resource utilization. And the third habitat is the aquatic habitats of the Mara Basin. So the Mara River itself, as well as the Mara wetland. The primary objective for these habitats is to improve management of the river's catchment area and its water resources. The specific actions recommended in this document serve to promote biodiversity conservation through providing a guideline for concerted transboundary action among the various stakeholders in the basin, which promotes efficiency of initiatives. It also promotes linkages between rural livelihoods and conservation, which promotes sustainable development and livelihood improvement. And it promotes the use of strategic and science-based information in the development of conservation initiatives. Through this process, one area that was identified as the primary driver for biodiversity in the Mara Basin, and that is water. Water resources throughout the basin are threatened by development, the demands of development, in a number of ways. But fortunately, both the Kenya and Tanzania Water Acts call for protection, identification, and protection of reserve flows for all bodies of water. Reserve flows are defined as that quantity and quality of water required first to satisfy basic human needs, and second, to protect aquatic ecosystems in order to secure ecologically sustainable development. Environmental flow assessments are the cutting edge of science to determine what these reserve flow levels are.